Hi, I'm Kathryn Pugh. I'm environmental scientist at the City of Launceston. I'm here to talk to you about the top 3 myths of the Tamar River. First myth, the name. The Tamar is one of the few places that is gazetted as a dual name, so the name of the place is the Kanamaluka Tamar Estuary. And that's the second part of that first myth. It's an estuary, not a river. So some people may not understand what an estuary is, and an estuary is the place where the river meets the sea. So here in Launceston we don't have fresh water all year round. We have fresh water in winter when there's lots of river flow, and in summer we have salt water as the water from Bass Strait pushes upstream all the way up into Launceston, past Launceston and out into St Leonards. So one of the effects of the salinity combined with the tides is that it creates the mudflats that we see here in Launceston at low tide. So the salinity helps to the clay particles to bond together and they become bigger and heavier and they drop out and they form the mudflats. Those clay particles and the sands and silts that go with them, they don't come from our combined sewage system, which is another common myth. They actually come from the catchment and from the urban stormwater runoff. Our catchment is huge for the Tamar Estuary. It's about 10,000 square kilometres, all the way past St Mary's. So if it rains in Grey, that water ends up here in Launceston. All of the meander catchment ends up in here, and also a whole lot of water from the Midlands. All ends up here in the middle of Launceston as it passes through on its way out to Bass Strait. So the second myth that we hear commonly about the Kanamaluka Tamar Estuary is that if we were to fix it, the mudflats would disappear tomorrow. And that's simply not true. The mudflats have been here for as long as people have been here, and they're a natural part of the system. It's a drowned river valley, and the natural process for those types of systems is to become alluvial floodplains that slowly fill in with sediments. And we have those floodplains all around Launceston. We're standing on one here. We've got them over at Heritage Forest and Glebe Farm, all the way up the North Esk as well. And so the development of the mudflats is a naturally occurring process, and we're really fighting nature if we're going to try and get rid of them. The Marine Board worked quite hard for a long time to get rid of the mudflats with a massive dredging program for the Upper Tamar. That was so that we could bring big ships in for transport. It was an important transport route for the state. And so there was an economic driver to remove those mudflats and bring those ships deep in the channels and bring those ships as far inland as they could. In the 1960s, when the port moved down to Bell Bay, there was no need to dredge, and so with the cessation of the dredging, we've had the mudflats reforming. The people of Launceston have never really loved the mudflats, and for quite a few decades we experimented with importing sand to create beaches. There'll be people out there who remember the beach at Royal Park, and we see that in photos around the place. But we have to remember that that sand was imported from Georgetown. It was brought up on a barge and it was placed down at Royal Park to give the people of Launceston somewhere to sit. So that brings us to our third myth about water quality. There's a perception out there that the water in the Kanamaluka Tamar is bad and it's getting worse and nobody's doing anything about it, and somebody should do something. But we've been doing something about the water quality for a very long time, and starting with that sewer system that was built in the 1860s. It was state of the art at the time, right through to the development of the sewage treatment plants of Hobbler's Bridge, Tea Tree Bend, starting in the 1950s, and really finishing in the 1990s with the killer fatty sale yards hooking into Hobbler's Bridge. And that was the last that we saw of the really terrible water quality here in Launceston. Since then there have been improvements to the system, and in the last 2 years we've had the River Health Action Plan has come online as part of the Launceston City deal, and that has the next big phase of upgrades to the sewage treatment works in Launceston that will see enormous benefits for the water quality here. So while there have been huge improvements in the water quality here in the Upper Estuary since the 70s and then again in the 90s, there's still a bit of work to do, and Council and other agencies, NRM North, TasWater, we're all working really hard to further improve the water quality of the estuary. Something else we hear from people is that if the river was fixed, then the water out here would be blue. But if we fix the water quality and we fix the estuary, the water would still be the same colour that it is now. It's an estuary for a start, but also it's the same colour as the water in the first basin, which is just upstream. It won't be blue ever. It's like the Yarra, the Brisbane River, those rivers are brown. Our estuary is brown, our South Esk River is brown, and that's okay.